After 2 years of dating my girlfriend, she uninvited me from Thanksgiving because her real boyfriend was coming back to announce their engagement. Thanksgiving has always been a tough time for me. It's a holiday filled with images of happy families sitting around a table, which felt like a cruel reminder of what I never had. My dad, who was always traveling for work, didn't prioritize family. My mom remarried and got caught up in her new family, leaving little room for me. Holidays usually meant eating microwave meals alone in my apartment and pretending that it didn't bother me while scrolling through Instagram. So, when Carolina, my girlfriend Lily's mom, invited me to their family's Thanksgiving, it felt like a dream come true. After one of their busy Sunday dinners, she pulled me aside, holding my hands warmly. She said, "Max, we'd love for you to join us for Thanksgiving this year. It's a family tradition, and it wouldn't feel right without you." Her sincerity was overwhelming. Lily's family was everything mine wasn't, close-knit, loud, and supportive. Carolina made me feel like part of the family by asking about my day, giving me leftovers, and sharing old family recipes. Their Thanksgiving celebration wasn't just a dinner. It was a 4-day getaway to their cabin, with board games, hikes, and laughter. For the first time in years, I was excited for the holiday. I bought a cozy emerald green sweater and tried making a pumpkin pie to impress Carolina. Lily seemed happy about it, or so I thought. But a week before Thanksgiving, everything changed. Lily and I were on the couch, watching Netflix, when she casually said, "Oh, by the way, you won't be coming to Thanksgiving dinner." The room went silent. I thought I misheard her. When I asked her why, she said, "My mom forgot she invited you. It's just complicated." I was confused because Caroline had seemed so excited about my visit and had planned the menu with my favorite dishes. I asked, "What do you mean, complicated?" Lily just muttered, "It's a family thing. My mom sometimes gets carried away inviting people. It doesn't mean she doesn't like you, but she probably realized it's not the best time." Her tone was dismissive, and my chest tightened. I had nowhere else to go. My dad was overseas, and my mom wasn't an option. I asked, "What am I supposed to do? Sit at home alone while you all celebrate?" Lily gave me a look that I couldn't understand. Sympathy mixed with guilt, or maybe resignation. "We can FaceTime," she offered, like that would make up for me being uninvited. She acted like it wasn't a big deal, but it was. It wasn't just about Thanksgiving dinner. It was the sudden change and the way she dismissed my feelings. I had spent 2 years feeling like part of her life, part of her family, and now I felt like a stranger. I didn't say anything more that night. I just stared at the TV, not really seeing anything, trying to understand what had just happened. The Lily I knew, the one who had left her own Christmas dinner last year to spend it with me when I was alone, wouldn't do this. Something didn't add up. The room felt heavier after Lily's announcement, and my thoughts were all over the place. I asked, "Lily, your mom specifically invited me. She seemed so excited. Why would she forget?" My voice cracked a little, showing the hurt I was trying to hide. Lily didn't even look up from her phone. She just shrugged and said, "It's not personal, Max. Sometimes things change. You can still come the other days, just not for the dinner. The heart of Thanksgiving, the moment when everyone gathers together." Her words cut deeper than I expected. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the rejection itself or how indifferent she seemed about it. "But Lily," I said, "you know how much this meant to me. I don't have anywhere else to go. My dad's overseas again, and my mom." I paused, not wanting to go there. You know, this was the one thing I was actually looking forward to. She looked at me like I was the one being difficult. "Look, we can FaceTime during dinner," she suggested, offering a weak smile. "It's not a big deal. Not a big deal." My chest tightened. "FaceTime?" I repeated, my voice full of disbelief. "Do you even hear yourself? I'm being uninvited from something your mom specifically wanted me at, and you think FaceTime will fix that?" Her jaw tightened. "You're making this into a drama." You can still come the other days." I stared at her, hoping to see any sign that she understood, but she was already back to scrolling on her phone. It was like the whole conversation was an inconvenience to her. The rest of the evening was awkward. We sat in silence, the Netflix show playing in the background, but neither of us was paying attention. I kept replaying her words in my head, trying to make sense of them. Lily wasn't usually like this. She had always been supportive and attentive, the kind of girlfriend who remembered the little things and made me feel seen. This sudden change didn't just feel thoughtless. It felt planned. I couldn't stop thinking about how welcoming her family had been to me. Just a few months ago, I helped Caroline set up for her sister Harper's baby shower, spending hours decorating the backyard with flowers and balloons. Harper had hugged me afterward and thanked me for all the effort. Caroline had insisted I stay for dinner that night, even packing me leftovers to take home. Then there was Lily's younger brother, Mark, who always joked that I brought out the best in her. "You're way less of a grouch since you came around," he had said with a grin. Even Harper's toddler had called me Uncle Max at one of the Sunday dinners. It all felt so real. I thought I was becoming part of their family. So why the sudden change? Why now? That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized Lily's behavior hadn't just changed with Thanksgiving. It had been different for weeks. The secretive texts, the phone calls she'd taken in another room, the way she smiled at her phone and brushed it off when I asked who she was talking to. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Everyone deserves a little privacy, right? But now the pieces weren't fitting together. Something was wrong. I couldn't ignore it anymore. By the time the warning signs appeared, I was determined to get answers. Lily's vague explanations and dismissive attitude weren't enough. If she thought this conversation was over, she was wrong. Something was going on, and I was going to find out what. The tension between Lily and me hadn't eased over the next few days. She became more distant, her phone almost always in her hand. Every time I tried to start a conversation, she'd give short answers or leave the room. I told myself I was just imagining things, but the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. One night, we were on the couch, barely speaking, when her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Lily had just stepped into the shower, leaving her phone behind. For once, my eyes were drawn to the screen. A message preview flashed across it, and my heart nearly stopped. "KB, can't wait to see everyone's faces when we announce it." I froze. My mind raced. KB? Who was KB? My pulse quickened as I stared at the screen. The phone buzzed again with another message. "KB, are you sure he doesn't suspect anything?" My stomach churned. I knew it was wrong, but curiosity and dread took over. I grabbed the phone and unlocked it with the passcode I knew by heart. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages. KB wasn't a coworker or an innocent friend. It was Kevin, her ex-boyfriend, the one she had called Ancient History when I first asked about her past. The messages weren't just casual. They were intimate, full of inside jokes and flirty emojis. It was clear they had been texting for weeks, maybe months. The more I read, the worse I felt. Their conversation wasn't just friendly. It was suggestive and playful. What hit me hardest, though, was a message about Thanksgiving. "Kevin, it'll be just like old times. Lily's mom is thrilled. Everything's set. She won't be there to ruin it. Kevin, you owe me big for putting up with all this." The text painted a horrible picture. Kevin was coming back for her family's Thanksgiving, the same one I had been uninvited from. Worse, they were planning some sort of announcement. My mind raced. An engagement? A reunion? Whatever it was, I was clearly the unwanted outsider in their plan. The betrayal hit me hard, like a punch to the gut. For 2 years, I had trusted Lily. I had opened up to her, let her see the broken parts of me that I rarely showed anyone. And yet, she had been lying to my face, keeping secrets with the man she had told me was out of her life. I sat there, holding her phone, not knowing what to do. The shower was still running, but my time was running out. I took screenshots of the conversation and sent them to myself, just in case she tried to deny it later. When I heard the water turn off, I scrambled to put her phone back. My hands were shaking so much, I nearly dropped it. I couldn't confront her right then. I wasn't ready. Instead, I grabbed my bag and muttered an excuse about needing to leave early. As I walked to my car, tears blurred my vision. Suddenly, everything made sense. Her distance, the secretive behavior, the coldness when I asked her about Thanksgiving. Lily wasn't just hiding something. She was pushing me out to make room for someone else. That night, I stared at the screenshots on my phone until my eyes burned. The messages were clear, but I still couldn't understand it. How could she look me in the eye, kiss me, and pretend everything was fine while secretly planning this betrayal? I wanted to scream, cry, and demand answers, but I also knew that once I opened this door, there would be no turning back. For now, I needed to plan my next move. Whatever was going on, I wasn't going to let her hide it. The next day, I was lost in a mix of anger and disbelief, replaying the screenshots over and over in my mind. Every message between Lily and Kevin felt like a fresh wound. I wasn't just angry. I was hurt, humiliated, and determined to get the truth. But I knew Lily would deny everything if I confronted her without more proof. That's when I decided to reach out to Harper, Lily's sister, and I had always gotten along well. She was warm and genuine, the kind of person who didn't shy away from tough conversations. I texted her casually at first, asking how she was and bringing up Thanksgiving. When I finally asked, "Do you know if Kevin is coming this year?" her response was immediate and telling. "Harper, why do you ask?" My heart raced as I typed. "I think Lily's been talking to him. I just need to know if he's part of the Thanksgiving plans." There was a long pause before Harper replied, "Max, I think you should talk to Lily about this. It's not my place." The pit in my stomach grew. Harper's hesitation confirmed my worst fears. She didn't deny it. She knew something. That evening, I waited for the right moment to confront Lily. She was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, scrolling through her phone as usual. I could feel the heat rising in my chest as I walked toward her, every nerve on edge. "Why is Kevin texting you about Thanksgiving?" I asked, my voice sharp. Lily froze, her finger hovering over the screen. Her face went pale as she looked up at me, caught off guard. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but the crack in her voice gave her away. I crossed my arms, holding her gaze. "Don't lie to me, Lily. I've seen the messages. He's texting you about some big announcement. What's going on?" Her eyes darted to her phone like it was a lifeline. "It's not what you think," she said weakly, but her words felt empty. "Then tell me." I shot back, my voice trembling. "Did you not want to invite me because he's coming back? Are you seriously choosing him over me?" Lily couldn't meet my eyes. She stared at the floor and mumbled, "It's complicated." That word, complicated, felt like a slap in the face, a way to dodge responsibility. "Stop saying that," I yelled, my voice cracking. "Do you have any idea how much this hurts? You let me believe I was part of your family, and now you're pushing me aside like I don't matter. What's going on, Lily?" Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought she might finally tell me the truth. But instead, she said, "Max, I need time to figure this out." "Time? You need time." I stared at her, my chest heaving. "Figure what out, Lily? You've had 2 years to figure things out. Instead, you're stringing me along while sneaking around with him." Lily finally looked up, guilt written all over her face. "I didn't mean for it to get this messy," she said quietly. "That's not good enough," I said, my voice cold. "You've been lying to me, haven't you?" She didn't deny it. That was all the confirmation I needed. I grabbed my coat and bag, my hands shaking as I opened the door. "When you're ready to stop lying, you know where to find me. Until then, don't bother." I left before she could respond, the cool night air hitting my face like a wake-up call. My heart was racing, my emotions swinging between fury and heartbreak. This wasn't just about Kevin anymore. It was about Lily's complete lack of respect for me. As I walked away, one thing was clear. I deserved the truth, and I wasn't going to stop until I got it. Ending things with Lily brought a brief wave of relief, but it quickly gave way to uncertainty. There were still too many unanswered questions, and I knew Lily wasn't going to give me the clarity I needed. That's when I decided to call Caroline her mom. I told myself it was just to confirm what I already suspected, but deep down, I was hoping she'd deny it all and tell me it was a misunderstanding. I dialed her number, forcing my voice to sound cheerful. "Hi, Caroline. I just wanted to double-check. Am I still bringing the pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving dinner?" The silence on the other end stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Finally, Caroline's voice came through, hesitant and careful. "I thought Lily talked to you. Kevin's, well, he's back. Lily thought it might be best if you didn't come to the dinner this year." I gripped my phone so tightly it felt like it might crack. "Awkward?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay composed. "Why would it be awkward?" Caroline sighed, her tone full of that fake sympathy people use to soften a blow. "You're such a sweet boy, Max, and we all love having you around, but Kevin has history with the family. Everyone knows him, and it's just a lot to navigate." Lily didn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. History? What about the 2 years I'd spent at their family dinners, birthdays, and celebrations? What about the history Lily and I were supposed to be building? I tried to keep my composure, but my voice cracked as I said, "Caroline, does Kevin coming back mean he and Lily are together?" Caroline hesitated. "It's complicated," she finally said, echoing Lily's favorite excuse. "Lily told me they've been talking, and, well, Kevin's always been a part of this family. We just want to do what's best for everyone." I couldn't listen to another word. My hands were shaking as I muttered something about needing to go and hung up. I sat on my couch in stunned silence, replaying the conversation in my head. Kevin's always been a part of this family. I was nothing more than a placeholder, a convenient stand-in while Lily and her family waited for Kevin to come back and reclaim his spot. The anger bubbled up from the pit of my stomach. It wasn't just about Kevin. It was about all of them. Lily, Caroline, Harper. Everyone who had smiled at me, hugged me, and pretended to care, all while knowing I wasn't the real one. I needed to clear my head, so I grabbed my coat and went for a walk. The cold air stung my cheeks, but it didn't cool the rage boiling inside me. As I walked, all I could think about was the countless times I'd been there for Lily, supporting her, caring for her, making space for her family in my life. And this was my reward, being discarded the moment her real boyfriend came back. That's when I decided I wasn't done. I deserved answers, not just for closure, but because it was the principle of it. Lily had taken 2 years of my life, and I wasn't going to let her or her family erase me without a fight. I didn't sleep that night. After my call with Caroline, I sat in my apartment staring blankly at the wall, replaying every interaction I'd had with Lily over the past 2 years. All the little moments I'd ignored or brushed off came rushing back, forming a disturbing picture I hadn't wanted to see. The next evening, against my better judgment, I went to Lily's apartment. I told myself it was to confront her, but deep down, I was hoping she'd deny it, that she'd have some explanation to make this nightmare disappear. When I arrived, she acted as though nothing was wrong. She greeted me casually, "Hey, babe," kissed my cheek, and went back to her laptop as if everything was perfectly fine. I sat on the couch, watching her work, my stomach twisting into knots. The calmness in her demeanor was infuriating. How could she act so normal when my world was falling apart? After a few minutes, Lily said she was going to take a shower. As soon as I heard the water running, I made my move. Her phone was on the coffee table, unlocked. I hesitated, my hands trembling, then tapped on her messages. What I found made my blood run cold. The chat with Kevin stretched back months, longer than I expected. At first, it was harmless, just catching up and reminiscing. But then the tone changed. Messages about finally being together again and picking up where they left off. Kevin had moved back to town a month ago, and Lily had been meeting him regularly. Then came the bombshell. I can't wait for Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone's going to be so excited when we announce it. Announce what? I scrolled further, desperate for answers, and that's when I saw it. A picture of a diamond ring Lily had sent to Kevin. Engagement. The word burned in my mind as I stared at the screen. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. Lily wasn't just cheating. She was planning to propose to someone else. I felt sick. The woman I'd spent 2 years with, the woman I thought I knew, had been living a double life. She had looked me in the eyes, kissed me, and told me she loved me, all while planning a future with someone else. I quickly snapped pictures of the messages and sent them to my phone. My hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to type in my own number. Then I placed her phone back exactly where I'd found it, grabbed my bag, and left her apartment without saying a word. When I got home, I locked the door and collapsed onto my bed, clutching my phone like a lifeline. I couldn't stop looking at the screenshots, as if the words might somehow rearrange themselves into something less painful. Engaged to Kevin, the betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. It wasn't just the lies. It was the fact that I had trusted her completely. I'd shared parts of myself with Lily that I'd never shared with anyone else. And she had used me, lied to me, and discarded me like I was nothing. I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. This wasn't just about confronting Lily anymore. It was about taking back control. For 2 years, she had manipulated me, and now it was my turn to take charge. The anger I felt that morning was a strange mix of pain and clarity. I couldn't let this go without answers. But Lily clearly wasn't going to give them to me. That left Kevin. Against my better judgment, I opened Instagram and found his profile. It was full of polished photos, trendy coffee shops, beach vacations, and an annoyingly perfect smile. His life looked too put together, like someone who had never known betrayal. I stared at the message button for a long time before typing. Hi, Kevin. This is Max. I think we need to talk about Lily. I didn't expect a response, but to my surprise, he replied within minutes. I was wondering when you'd reach out. What do you want to know? His casual tone set my teeth on edge, but I forced myself to stay calm. I need to understand what's going on. Lily and I have been together for 2 years, but from what I've seen, you two have been involved for months, I wrote. Kevin's reply came instantly. Involved? That's putting it lightly. Lily, and I never really broke up. She said you were just someone to keep her mom off her back until I moved back to town. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My stomach churned as I typed back. You knew about me this whole time? This time. His response came slower, as if he were carefully choosing his words. Not at first. She told me about you when I came back. Said she didn't know how to end things with you because you were fragile. I didn't think it was my place to interfere, but I guess now I wish I had. Fragile. The word echoed in my mind like a slap. Lily had dismissed me entirely, reducing me to nothing more than a convenience. Why stay with someone who lies so easily? I asked, struggling to keep the bitterness out of my words. Kevin's response stunned me. Because I love her. I've known her for years. I know she can be stupid and selfish, but she's mine. I'm sorry if this hurts, but I'm not giving her up. It felt like a punch to the gut. His words weren't an apology. They were a declaration. He spoke as if Lily was a prize he'd won, and I was just an obstacle in his way. But his admission confirmed what I'd been avoiding. Lily had been playing both of us. She wasn't just cheating. She was manipulating, lying so effortlessly that she'd spun a web of deceit around everyone who cared about her. I ended the conversation with, "Thanks for the clarity. You can have her." Then I blocked him. For a moment, I sat staring at my phone, letting the weight of his words sink in. Kevin wasn't just complicit. He was actively trying to keep the lie alive. And Lily, true to form, was letting him. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a cruel, calculated game they were both willing to play. But I wasn't going to be their pawn anymore. When I arrived at Lily's apartment, I felt a storm brewing inside me. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweating, and my anger was teetering on the edge of exploding. But I couldn't let her see that, not yet. I needed to stay composed long enough to make her lies unravel. She opened the door, her usual casual self. But when she saw the look on my face, her expression faltered. "Max, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice uncertain. "What's wrong?" I said, stepping inside and slamming the door behind me. "What's wrong is that I just had a very enlightening conversation with Kevin." Her face went pale. "I don't know what he told you." "He told me everything," I interrupted, pulling out my phone and opening the screenshots. "Your little double life. The engagement announcement at Thanksgiving. All of it." I shoved the phone toward her, watching as her eyes darted over the evidence. For a moment, she just sat there in silence, then sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "Max, I didn't mean for it to get this far," she mumbled. My voice trembled, not with sadness, but with fury. "Didn't mean for it to get this far? Lily, you've been lying to me for 2 years. You used me. You let me believe we had a future together while sneaking around with him. And now you're telling me you didn't mean to?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. "I didn't know how to end it," she blurted out, looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. "I cared about you, Max. I still do. But Kevin, he's—" "Don't you dare say he's the one," I snapped. "Because if he's the one, then what was I? A placeholder? Someone to fill the void while he was gone." She didn't answer, and her silence said everything. It was like the air in the room shifted, and something inside me broke. "You were planning to propose to him at Thanksgiving," I said, my voice cracking, "while I was still in the picture. While I was planning to make pumpkin pie for your family, to spend the holiday feeling like I finally belong somewhere. You robbed me of that, Lily. Do you even realize how cruel that is?" Her tears started to fall in earnest now, but I didn't care. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered, barely audible. "I was going to tell you after Thanksgiving. I didn't know how to—" I cut her off, my anger boiling over. "You didn't know how to end it because you didn't want to face the consequences of your actions. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too, Lily. Well, guess what? I'm done being your backup plan." I reached into my bag, pulled out the spare key to her apartment, and tossed it onto the coffee table. "We're done," I said, my voice firm and final. "Max, please," she started, but I was already heading for the door. I turned back one last time, meeting her tearful gaze. "You don't get to ask for forgiveness, Lily. Not after this." And with that, I walked out, slamming the door behind me. As I stepped into the crisp night air, a wave of relief washed over me. For the first time in days, I felt free. I finally felt like I could breathe again. It wasn't just the end of a relationship. It was the end of a chapter in my life where someone else's lies defined my worth. Now, I was ready to start fresh and write my own story on my own terms. The days that followed felt surreal. I packed up my things from the apartment Lily and I had shared, feeling a mix of anger and numbness. My best friend Sophie was my rock through it all. She showed up with boxes, takeout, and endless words of encouragement. "You're doing the right thing," she said, taping up a box labeled Books and Betrayal. Still, the pain lingered. Every time I looked at something I had brought into that apartment. A throw pillow we picked out together, a mug I bought to match hers. My chest tightened. How had I built a life with someone who had been lying to me all along? Sophie insisted I block Lily and Kevin on everything. "Out of sight, out of mind," she said, grabbing my phone to make sure I did it. I agreed, though reluctantly. Cutting them off was necessary, but it didn't stop the memories from creeping in late at night. I kept replaying every moment of our relationship, every red flag I had ignored, trying to figure out how I missed the truth. 2 days after I moved out, Caroline called. Her voice was shaky and almost desperate. "Max, I just heard what happened. I'm so sorry. I had no idea Lily was seeing Kevin again." I gripped the phone tightly. "Didn't you?" I asked sharply. "You told me I couldn't come to Thanksgiving because he was back. You said it would be awkward." She stammered, caught off guard. "I thought it was just a misunderstanding. I didn't realize how serious it was. I never meant to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh. "You knew enough to put his feelings above mine. That's all I need to know." Caroline sighed heavily. "Max, please understand. I just wanted to keep the peace. I didn't want to choose sides." "You chose," I said coldly, cutting her off. "And it wasn't me." I hung up before she could say more. Her apology felt hollow, like she was just trying to save face. The truth was, her whole family had played a role in keeping me in the dark. Whether they actively supported Lily or just looked the other way, they were all complicit. Back at Sophie's, I threw myself into distractions. I updated my resume and started applying for new jobs in a different part of the city. Sophie dragged me to yoga classes, though my downward dog looked more like a collapsing starfish. Anything to keep my mind from drifting back to Lily and the mess she'd made of my life. But at night, the memories crept in. I thought about the way she used to hold my hand during Sunday dinners with her family, or the weekend trip she surprised me with after a hard week. I hated how much I missed a version of her I thought was real. One evening, as Sophie and I sat on her couch watching bad reality TV, she turned to me and said, "You're allowed to feel hurt, you know. You're allowed to grieve." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. For so long, I had tried to push the pain away, pretending it didn't matter. But it did. I had loved her, or at least a version of her she had shown me. Now, I had to figure out how to rebuild my life without her. The next day, I booked an appointment with a therapist. It was time to stop running from the pain and start healing. Months have passed since then. The scars are still there, but they're starting to fade. I left the old city behind and moved into a cozy apartment in a new town, where no street corner reminds me of Lily or the life I thought we were building. It's a fresh start, and for the first time in years, I feel like I'm truly living for myself. Therapy has been a game changer. Dr. Ellen, my therapist, doesn't sugarcoat things. She pushed me to confront not just Lily's lies, but also my own patterns. How I ignored red flags and gave too much of myself to people who didn't deserve it. "You have to stop dimming your light for people who don't deserve to stand in it," she said during one session. Those words stuck with me. Charlie, my golden retriever rescue, has been my biggest source of joy. His wagging tail and happy greetings brighten even the hardest days. He doesn't care about the past, only that I throw his favorite squeaky toy a dozen times before breakfast. Adopting him was the best decision I've made. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and this year it's different. I'm hosting a Friendsgiving, a celebration of the family I've chosen, not the one that failed me. I've chosen my people. Sophie is bringing her famous spinach artichoke dip, and my new coworker Jasmine has promised to bake a pie. It's a small gathering, but it feels more meaningful than any big event ever could. These are the people who have shown me what real, unconditional support looks like. A few weeks ago, I got a letter from Lily. It came from her old address, the one I used to know so well. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The first line read, "Max, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." I stopped reading right there. I didn't need to see the rest. I already knew it would be full of apologies, excuses, and empty promises to change. Instead of dwelling on it, I fed the letter to my father's fireplace, watching the flames consume the last trace of her in my life. I've learned so much since that Thanksgiving invitation. I've learned that love shouldn't come with conditions or lies. I've learned that I'm stronger than I ever imagined. And most importantly, I've learned that letting go isn't just about courage. It's about self-respect. As I set the table for Friendsgiving, With Charlie sniffing at the turkey roasting in the oven, I feel a deep sense of gratitude, not for the betrayal or heartbreak, but for the growth that came from it. This year, I'm thankful for my resilience, for the people who stood by me, and for the chance to start over. When my friends arrive, the apartment fills with laughter and warmth. For the first time in a long while, I'm surrounded by people who truly see me. No lies, no secrets, just love. And that, I realize, is all I really need this Thanksgiving.